Hello there. So let's go ahead and start. I am Victor Hernandez. I am the marketing manager at Tamus Family and also one of the surrogacy consultants here. It is my pleasure to welcome you today, and I hope to see many of you later when you book your one-on-one private consultations. Today's webinar will be about an hour and a half long, and the goal is to provide you with a general information about who Tamus Family is, what we offer intended parents looking to fulfill their dream of having a baby or babies through gestational surrogacy. We refer to the process as a journey, and that is because it is both literally and figuratively a journey. As with any profound journey, it comes with its amount of up and downs, and it takes a fair amount of time to complete. I will be explaining all of that the uh, as the presentation continues. But before we get into the thick of things, I would like to ask everyone that is not muted to please mute your microphones. Feel free to ask questions in the chat as we progress through the webinar, and we'll aim to answer the most frequently asked questions towards the end of the presentation. If they are not answered, please use the QR code in the following slides to schedule a free private consultation where we can go into more details and depth about anything and everything that you might want to take up. We're always happy and delighted to schedule as many free follow-up consultations as you feel that you need. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to introduce our North America team for Tamus Family's North America territories. With me today, I have John Moses, the territory manager for the North American office, Sineb Banani, one of our case managers, Sebastian Hill, another one of the case managers here at Tamus, and Luis and Miguel Andrino will also be joining us. They're a Tamus couple that completed their journey in Colombia, and they will be sharing their experience later on. I will now allow John to briefly introduce himself, and let me make sure I mute myself.
Okay. Hi. Can I be seen? Can I be heard? I guess I can.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm John Moses. As my illustrious colleague Victor Hernandez has introduced me, I am indeed the territory manager for the Tamus Family North America office, which means I oversee all of the operations for our territory office, which means I am overseeing all the journeys that our clients, all of whom are exclusively based either in the US or Canada, are on with Tamus Family. I don't do this alone by any means. I do this with an incredible support crew of case managers, all of whom are here this evening. And so I'm going to turn the floor to them so they can introduce themselves. But I have been with Tamus for 5 years. I've been with Tamus in a broader sense for a lot longer than that. I know many of the people at the main office personally. I also have 2 kids through surrogacy with Tamus, which I'll be speaking about later on in the presentation. But that's who I am for the time being. Anyway, I'm now going to pass the floor to Zineb Banani, who is one of our wonderful case managers. Zineb.
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. My name is Zina Benani. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I have been with Tamus for about a year now, and I am from Morocco. And I'm looking forward to managing your journey soon.
Hello, I'm Sebastian Gill. Can they hear me? Yeah. Okay, I'm Sebastian Hill. I have been working with Tamus for 3 years almost, and I hope this webinar is very helpful for you. We're very happy that you're here, and I will be handling the chat with the questions. So if any questions you can write it there, and we will address it later on.
All right. Thank you all very much for introducing yourselves. So during this presentation today, we'll be defining gestational surrogacy itself, outlining the steps involved in a surrogacy journey, and describing how Tammuz family provides comprehensive support throughout gestational surrogacy journeys. We'll list the many reasons why intended parents should choose Tammuz family as their agency partner. And we'll also cover the highlights of our 5 destination programs where we administer journeys. I also ask that you stay with us until the end so that you can hear more about Luis and Miguel's experience, which they have so generously agreed to share with us today. They've completed a surrogacy journey in Colombia, and they will go into what the experience meant for them, what advice they have for future intended parents, and they will answer any questions you pose in the chat as they relate or tell their experience. The first and basic question for anybody that's curious about surrogacy is, what is gestational surrogacy? Exactly. So gestational surrogacy is a means by which you, the intended parent, through an in vitro fertilization process, create embryos, which are then transferred into a gestational carrier, a surrogate, who gestates and carries and delivers the resulting baby for the parents. The gestational carrier has neither a genetic nor a legal parental link to the baby she delivers for the parents. The next useful question that most parents will ask when they are in the early stages of research is, who pursues a gestational surrogacy and why? And so whether you're a single parent, a same-sex couple, or a heterosexual couple, and even if you're facing fertility challenges, gestational surrogacy offers a proven, legally sound, and medically advanced path to parenthood. This process is recognized worldwide as a safe, reliable, family-building option. It requires legal clarity, medical excellence, and ethical oversight. And it allows parents to welcome a child who, in most cases, shares their same genetic makeup. At Tammuz Family, we proudly extend our gestational surrogacy services to all intended parents, including those living with HIV, ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to experience the joy of building a family. Now about us, who we are as a company and what is our mission. So we are a global surrogacy agency dedicated to helping individuals and couples, regardless of marital status, their sexual orientation, or medical background, build your families safely, ethically, and with confidence through gestational surrogacy. We've been doing this for just over 17 years internationally, and we combine legal expertise, medical excellence, and compassionate support to guide intended parents through every step of your journey. Our North America team works exclusively with parents based in the United States and Canada, and that team is made up of everybody that has introduced themselves today. Plus, we have a new addition to our team who I forgot to introduce in this and the past webinar, so I do apologize for that. But Adriana has joined the team recently, and she will be another one of the case managers that will be helping you complete your journeys. The process is highly complex and involves many parties, including egg donors, surrogate recruitment partners, fertility clinics, legal teams, all working carefully within the parameters of whatever local regulatory framework is in place to support the venture. We provide profound experience, expertise, and empathy to help intended parents navigate through this complexity. And at the heart of our mission is a deep commitment to supporting parents as they understand that this experience is both exciting and challenging. And we provide all the essential components in a caring and competent environment that feels like family. Our goal is to ensure that you feel welcomed, comfortable, supported, and truly included throughout the entire process. allowing you to focus on what truly is important, which is preparing for the newest member of your family. Now let's talk about what are the different stages of a surrogacy journey with Tammuz. Your journey, of course, begins when you reach out to us, and from that first conversation, our team's whole purpose is to guide you and support you through stages as you reach them, making sure that you're updated and that you have access to the resources you need in a timely fashion. The initial consultation, you'll meet either me or John to discuss your goals, and we'll explore which of our surrogacy destinations best fits your needs. Together, we'll review key factors such as budget, timelines, legal processes, and what to expect of your relationship with your surrogate. You'll also learn about the medical and legal experts who will support you locally. This initial consultation, along with any follow-up meetings, is free and non-binding, and most of the time carry out via Zoom for your convenience, meaning we are more than happy to ensure that everyone involved feels at ease. And to do so, you can scan the QR code at the top left and select to book your free surrogacy consultation. Once you select your preferred path, and we have done all the consultations that we need, and we shared all the information for you to review, we'll finalize your service agreement and introduce you to your dedicated case manager, your trusted point of contact throughout the entire journey. They will help you complete the intake process. Then you will begin the pre-pregnancy phase. You will complete all required medical and legal documentation and coordinate your sperm and or egg donation at the program's clinic. The clinic is the one that oversees the entire IVF process, using advanced techniques like the ICSI technique, ICSI, and non-invasive genetic testing to ensure the healthy embryo development before the transfer. Next will be the surrogate matching phase. And after confirming you have viable embryos, we'll begin the matching process. Each surrogate is carefully screened medically, psychologically to ensure full readiness. You'll receive her profile and often have a chance to meet via video call before deciding to move forward. Again, at the center of everything that we do is your comfort, the trust from both parties involved, and connections. These are all central to the experience, and we are with you every step of the way to the delivery and beyond. Now, the second half of your journey is comprised of the embryo transfer, the pregnancy protocol, the birth and discharge, and the legal aspects post-delivery. During the embryo transfer, once you've officially been matched, intended parents and surrogates sign a gestational surrogacy agreement that allows, that follows the legal standards of the selected destination. This process is managed by our expert local legal team, whose services are included in all of Tammuz's family's surrogacy plans, regardless of which one you select. And after the contract is signed, the surrogate begins medical preparations for the embryo transfer, a phase that typically takes between 2 to 4 months. Patience remains essential at this stage specifically, but more broadly throughout the entire process, as timing may vary based on each surrogate's availability and the fertility clinic's medical protocols and workload. The embryo transfer takes place at the same clinic where your embryos are created, and this enhances the safety of the entire process. The pregnancy protocol stage is next. Throughout the pregnancy, your case manager provides regular medical and procedural updates. In destinations such as the United States and Colombia, you'll maintain direct communication with your surrogate, who becomes a valuable sole source of information and connection as the journey progresses. This is especially true after the first trimester in cases specifically in the United States. All surrogates are monitored according to Western FDA medical standards to ensure the health and safety of both the carrier and the baby. And you'll receive periodic ultrasound reports, updates from the clinic, and opportunities for video calls at key milestones with your surrogate. Each step bringing you closer to meeting your child. Next is the birth and post-delivery stages. The journey culminates in the most meaningful chapter, of course, the birth of your babies. And intended parents must travel to the program's destination by week 37 of the pregnancy so they can be present for the delivery. For births outside of the United States, our local medical and legal teams provide full support through the postnatal and exit processes. And this includes securing parental rights and obtaining your baby's birth certificate, and in some cases, a local passport. These services are covered under our program's costs. Parents will apply independently for their baby's US or Canadian passport, a straightforward process that can begin once the birth certificate is issued. Most families can expect to stay in country for approximately 5 to 8 weeks, depending on the destination where you choose to undergo this journey, before returning home with their newborn. Like I've said, to learn more about these journeys, book a consultation today by scanning the QR code on the next slide, and you can select between me or John as you wish, depending on your availability and hours. So now is a good time to take a pause. This is a lot of information to start. So far, we've defined gestational surrogacy, who it is meant to help, and who we are as a company and what our mission is. And we will address most common questions during the Q&A question during the end of the presentation. So right now will be a good time to write your questions in the chat, grab a glass of water, stretch out, and we will resume the presentation in 2 minutes. But before I let you go, I just want to say, when you do book a consultation in our calendars, make sure to select a time and a date that is convenient for you, when everyone involved can be present. You can be at a private space where you can calmly ask all your questions and consider your options carefully. All right, I'll see you all in 2 minutes.
Sorry.
All right, and we're back. 1 second. Folks, let's continue. So now we'll briefly just go over who we are as a company and the origins of Tammuz. So, inspired by his own surrogacy journey, Doron Mohamed, the founder of Tammuz family, established the company with the mission to empower intended parents to navigate the various obstacles and challenges that make a surrogacy journey. And since 2008, we have been a trusted guide for over 2,000 families worldwide. Now, John, how much of the staff is comprised of former Tammuz intended parents? And why does that even matter? Give me 1 second, let me give it over to you.
Okay. Am I on? Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so yes, as Victor has mentioned, uh, many of us, that is, who work as territory managers, directors, have gone through surrogacy personally in our own lives through Tammuz, which is unique for a surrogacy company. And most surrogacy providers, and there are many in the world, many in the United States, who've been doing this a long time, it's not usually a good portion of the staff who've done it personally. It's usually the founder alone and maybe the founder's partner. But in this case, about 40% of us who work as directors and territory managers, and there are several of us across the globe, we work globally, have all had kids through surrogacy. So that's particularly beneficial. Why does it matter? To parents who work with us, because unless they've been on journeys before, and some of them have, whether with us or others, but most people are coming to this first time, there's so much ahead of them. And these journeys are not overnight journeys, and they are necessarily filled with contingencies and unpredictable outcomes and lots of ups and downs. Luis and Miguel, who are here with us tonight, can attest to this, and they'll speak, I'm sure, a little more about that experience of it. So it's useful to be embarking upon such a journey with folks guiding you who can give you the kinds of particular insights, perspectives, ways to manage and reframe over and over again any number of things they might experience along the way, which in many instances will defy people's expectations. I mean, the big joke about surrogacy, not the big joke, is that, you know, what to expect when you're expecting, and then you can put more expectings in parentheses. There's a lot of unknown necessarily as you move from one stage to the next. It's nice to be guided by people who are not, you know, quite formally guiding you through this and administering the program for you, but who are not speaking from some, you know, vague or hypothetical place. I'm coming from certainly a very deep personal base of knowledge. I mean, my journey will be different than yours. Any pregnancy is different from the next pregnancy, but there's enough here that's quite particular to surrogacy that we can really help you assimilate and integrate into your outlook as you go through a journey. And outlook is everything, because there's very little to do physically in the course of a journey. You're waiting and waiting and expecting and waiting, and you're on a bit of a roller coaster. That's a pressure-filled experience. So you're not alone in it, first of all, as Victor has discussed. We are here to support you every step of the way. And specifically, that support is coming from a very pointed, informed place of knowledge. Anyway, that's somewhat of a long-winded answer to your question, but that's why it matters, and that's who Tammuz is. So I'll leave it at that for now.
I saw that Juan asked, how does the Bush family compare to other companies in the United States that provide similar services? What are the advantages and drawbacks of choosing Tammuz over others? I will go into that in a few slides here, so just hang on with us for a few more moments. Next slide is, we are truly a global outfit. We have 15 offices across 5 continents and a dedicated team of 65 professionals who have the privilege of supporting families from over 20 countries. So unlike other companies that work locally and only offer services in that one jurisdiction, Tammuz offers services in 6 different countries. And we have not only done it in these current 6 countries, but as you'll be able to see here in the next slide, since 2008, we have opened and closed programs as legal jurisdictions have evolved, as countries allow for surrogacy and then eventually change their mind or adjust their legal frameworks, no longer allowing Tammuz to operate within their borders. So that shows our nimbleness. That shows that we've been doing this in a way that has allowed for us to create programs that are bespoke to every parent's specific situation and journey. And we have the ability to solve problems that maybe somebody that has only dealt with one jurisdiction wouldn't know how to. Within that same framework, important to note is that we only administer gestational surrogacy programs in locations with a genuinely supportive legal and regulatory framework that can be the backbone of this venture, and where our world-class fertility clinical partners focus on empathy and sensitivity towards our intended parents, surrogates, and egg donors, as much as they do on using cutting-edge medical technology to achieve high transfer success rates. Our programs in the United States, our program in the US has been in operation for 17 years, making it our longest running and most stable program. It has a proven track record of excellence, followed closely by our program in Colombia and in Georgia, each within about 6 years of robust success. And they have both gained great popularity among a large share of our IPs and delivered excellent results. Our program in Mexico has recently been revamped. The timeline there has been shortened, and we have now partnered with 2 state-of-the-art fertility clinics. And our wise and practical and experienced legal team has managed to help make this process even faster during your post-delivery stage. That ensures that couples, both members of a couple as well as single parents, will be on the original birth certificate. Similarly, the program in Armenia is the result of our partnership with our Georgia Fertility Clinic, the German Georgian Reproductive Center, which has successfully expanded into Armenia just this year. And they have opened a fully equipped and state-of-the-art clinic and hospital with all that is required for a gestational surrogacy journey, literally under one roof. And we'll go into more details about what that entails as we review the Armenia program in more detail. So I will now give the mic over to John as he explains why partner with Tammuz family over other competitors and answers the poignant question that they've just asked us in the chat. So let me transfer the mic over to you, John.
Yeah. Do you want to mute? Oh, yeah, you got it. Okay, great. Make sure I'm here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so someone's already anticipated the answer, or has already asked this question. Why should you select Tammuz Family as your partner agency to complete a gestational surrogacy journey? Well, I'll talk in a bit about the specific things we offer that we will also be able to go into in a consultation in depth and in detail. But there are lots of surrogacy services providers in the world, lots of great surrogacy services providers in the USA. Not every agency is a perfect fit for every single parent who's looking to do this. We are arguably the preeminent international surrogacy services provider. So I don't know of any surrogacy services provider, not simply in the United States, but globally, who's had as much experience over a broad swath of time doing surrogacy throughout the world in lots of different countries. And at the heart of anything we do is a program in which the legal and regulatory framework for supporting an IVF-based surrogacy journey, at least at the outset of the program and throughout it. I mean, we can't do a program without a solid legal regulatory foundation being in place. That's number one. We always have that. And then, of course, the clinic that we partner with wherever we're doing it has to be working at a top-notch level in terms of their protocols, in terms of their conforming to what we call Western medical standards. Their transfer success rates have to be high. That said, we work even internally in a very global fashion. We are the North American Territory Office, meaning we work exclusively with parents who live in North America, in the United States or Canada or Mexico, arguably as well. But right now, especially when we're doing programs outside of the USA, the way we work, the way literally how your case manager is corresponding with you and sending you communications over the course of 2, maybe even longer years over a journey is one in which, first of all, the information is coming from wherever your program is centered, whether, let's say, it's Mexico. So your case manager is waiting for information from the clinic about an event that's happening for your journey. But before the case manager gets that information, the clinic in Mexico is first going to send all of the information for the event to our main office, which is in Tel Aviv, Israel. That's where Tammuz family was founded. That's where it's still based. That's the headquarters. And they are always aware of what all of our clients' journeys across the world are doing. They are the hub. They are also vetting, rinsing, as it were, all the information about every single parent's journey before that information gets sent back to that parent's territory office, to their case manager, before that case manager then returns the information to the parents. So that might sound really inefficient and belabored, like one big complicated game of telephone. And in a certain sense, it is. But we do it this way, especially when we're working internationally, in the interest of ensuring that the communications that are finally landing in your inbox, that are coming to you in a voicemail, that are coming to you in a conversation with your case manager are accurate, legitimate, on point, belong to you. I mean, even in the United States, you pick up a phone, you call a very good clinic, they don't always know who they're talking about. You have to exponentialize that possibility when you're working with equally good clinics, medically speaking, in places like Mexico City or Bogota, Colombia. It's very complicated. It's complex. There are a lot of players. And so we're trying to take as much stress and anxiety out of the picture in terms of not just, but the core of what the experience is, which is communications and setting expectations. So for some people, going back to the question that who was it that posed it? Kuan Yin. That might not bode well for you, or that might not sit well for you. The idea of maybe having to wait more than a few days to get answers to what are putatively simple questions. It's not because the time it might take to get quote unquote simple answers to you in the course of a journey does not bespeak incompetence or competence on our end or even the clinics. It has to do exactly what I was describing before. It's making sure that your expectations are aligned with what the reality of the program is, and that the communications you're getting are really accurate and on point. And this would be the case actually with most agencies, but because literally we are talking different time zones within the Tammuz chain of communications, that is something parents have to live with and accept. So that might not be for everyone. I think, generally speaking, that's the best way to handle communications, no matter what the context. And so that's one part of it. The other part is that no matter where you're doing a program with us, we're offering you a truly competitive price point, which we'll talk a bit more later on in the presentation, and then in consultations, if you schedule one, we can talk brass tacks. But I don't know of any surrogacy services provider in the world that's offering, as we'll discuss in a bit, our guarantee plan, which literally absolutely guarantees that anyone doing it is going to have a baby. Luis and Miguel can talk more about this in a bit. At a price point that, first of all, doesn't compromise anything legally, regulatorily, or medically. And so coupled with that absolute guarantee, in addition to our longstanding global experience, the regular, consistent, deeply personalized support we give, all of these factors are sort of set Tammuz apart from a lot of other providers. Most providers can't hit all those points that I just mentioned. I mean, which is not to say that the other providers who are offering something comparable to what Tammuz offers aren't equally good for the people who make a good fit with those providers. But I certainly know empirically that there's no one in the world who's offering truly, genuinely the absolute guarantee that the guarantee plan offers, which guarantees that anyone doing it is going to be successful. They're going to have a baby or babies, and they know what the cost is for the plan, even before they might even sign an agreement to do it. So those are the reasons why I would vote for going with Tammuz versus another provider. And there may be other reasons not to, largely to do with the way we operate internally, which again is set up in such a way to ensure that your experience is as supported as we've been saying it would be. So I don't know if that helps answer that question. Going back to the presentation here. So again, I've talked about case manager. Victor's talked about the case manager being your primary point of contact, ensuring that you have, reliable, consistent communications from A to Z over the course of a very long time. There's never a point that you can't reach out to your case manager, that your case manager won't be reaching out to you, even if there's no news to provide you. You're not tethered into outer space in the course of a journey here, even if sometimes you're waiting for long periods for news that's not yet coming. And sometimes the news that you get, by the way, is not happy news. It can be disappointing. That's also part of surrogacy. That's about pregnancy. That's about family formation. You're never alone in this, and you always have a point of contact to be dealing with these communications as they come your way. We work collaboratively. It's not an us versus you, us versus the clinic, us versus the. We really work as a team. I mean, it's the reason we have the word family in our title. It's not simply because of what we're helping parents form. It's because of actually the culture of the company, who we are. Surrogacy journeys, as you might imagine, and Luis Miguel will talk a little bit about this, I'm sure, require a large reserves of patience from parents. You really have to be patient. None of this happens overnight. It's not a walk in the park. I know that firsthand. You have to be resilient, and if you're not, we're also here to help you fortify that, develop it. I mean, resilience is not necessarily something everyone's born with. Positive thinking. We actually have begun now a series of, as we say, IP training workshops to help people quite explicitly cultivate these skills, which are essentially psychological and emotional, to be able to get through a surrogacy journey with as little stress, as little of an emotional roller coaster as possible. But I'll be very honest with you, I've got 2 kids through surrogacy, no pregnancy and no surrogacy pregnancy for that matter doesn't come with a certain amount of up and down. That is the nature of bodies, medicine, and in this case, if you're doing things across international lines and working in as complex a context as we are, you're going to go on a bit of a ride. I'll be quite honest, and you'll be okay. You'll be more than okay, especially if you're doing the guarantee plan, because the guarantee at the end of the ride is the beginning of the ride. The beginning of the ride is becoming parents. That's what this is all about. But that's guaranteed, and that not only provides a lot of financial assurance, but by extension, psychological assurance. Because by most people's measures, this is not an inexpensive venture. Even if you're doing a surrogacy journey outside the U.S. will be the most expensive place to do it. But it's a lot of investment that parents are putting into this, financially, emotionally, and that's not lost on us for 2 seconds. So it's complex, it's layered, guarantee plan. I'm going to sort of jump ahead here because there's a lot of content and I want to make sure we stay on time. So case manager is, again, your primary point person, your shepherd, your North Star, guiding you every stage of the journey. I'm also aware of what our clients are doing, so occasionally I'm jumping in to help, but your case manager is really going to be your point person in our office for the journey. Starting with, meeting you at the beginning of your journey and facilitating your sperm donation trip, to helping you select an egg donor or a set of egg donor candidates, which is its own journey, matching you with a surrogate. I mean, your case manager is the focal point for all of this stuff that parents have to do. When you're working with us, you're working, as I said, with clinics around the world. We're working at very high levels for where they are. The egg donor databases that people work with when they're doing the guarantee plan, these are anonymous egg donors. So in most cases, you're not going to know anything beyond what's in a profile, but these are very carefully recruited and vetted egg donors. Surrogate recruitment agencies, these are the instruments by which all our clinics are working to match people with surrogates and then get the surrogates cleared. The surrogates are always going to the clinic for the embryo transfer. They're being monitored by the clinics, if not for the entire journey in places like Colombia or Mexico or Georgia, Armenia, but then certainly for the first trimester in the United States. These programs have different protocols, but the clinic is quite central here, and they're working quite closely with all of our partners to make this happen successfully. So we're centralizing all of the communications, all the information, all the sort of anchors and blocks and buoys that need to be in place to do an IVF-based surrogacy journey successfully. And that alleviates the centralization of the process, also sets us apart in many degrees from other agencies where sometimes they sort of parcel out processes and you have to work with this person for that and this person for that. This is a kind of one-stop shop adventure for people, and that's useful. So you don't have to sort of bog yourself down with spreadsheets to deal with this person. That's our job. We take out, I don't want to say the complexity, but I don't know, the time, the bumpiness of having to sort of do things discreetly. This is kind of combined, that experience. So now that you've learned a bit more, hopefully, about what makes Tamu's family, what sets us apart from other agencies, what makes us the preeminent international surrogacy agency, we would love to know which aspect of a surrogacy journey would be the most important for you. And you could, if you don't mind sharing your thoughts very, very quickly in the chat in response to that question, we can just take a look at that, maybe take up those responses briefly. 2 new messages, let's see. Thank you. Okay, good. You're welcome. I don't know how you pronounce your name. Is it Shadash or Khadash? I don't want to mispronounce it. Question is, do you have designated companies that help with financing the process, or is that for us to sort out with our banks? Great question. So on the one hand, the guarantee plan, in addition to providing you the financial and by extension psychological insurance, the psychological assurance that you will succeed, is offering you a very competitively priced surrogacy journey. We tend to be, by and large, 10 to 15% less expensive than other agencies offering something comparable to a guarantee plan. That said, we don't offer any financing per se. We wish we could, and maybe at some point in the future we will. You're not, on the one hand, paying the entire cost of what the net estimate will be for a surrogacy journey at the outset of the journey. You're paying at various milestone points on the calendar. But when you're paying these payments, they need to be paid when they're due, because the services that you're paying for are being rendered at that point. We need to pay our partners at any given point in the journey to do whatever it is you're paying for at that point. We can't ask for money before that point. But we don't have any reductions in these costs. These are, first of all, negotiated, very carefully negotiated financial structures that we have with our partners to enable us to give you a guarantee plan. A guarantee plan is a negotiated, a specialized way to do this. So, in answer to your question, Khadash or Shadash, you come to us. We assume, first of all, when you sign an agreement, that you are budgeted for the full course of the journey before you sign, or that you know that you'll be able to pay for the milestone payments when they're due. And people have to be budgeted. They have to come up with the funds on their own independently, whether they get loans or they get grants or sponsorships, or help from family. I mean, people go about this in any number of ways. Take second mortgages. At the heart of what we do, arguably, will be the most important dream you're trying to fulfill. And without trying to sound too new agey about it, most important dreams don't come without some kind of cost, literally and figuratively. So it takes a lot of planning. And again, as I said, as we move into the future and we broaden and develop our options, hopefully we'll have something truly available for people to finance this, even as they do it directly with us. But right now, people have to come to us ready to go, ready to pay for what the cost of the program is that they're doing.
Most people shared with us that cost and transparency, as well as reputation and support, were the most important things for them.
Yeah. Well, you can't truly beat the cost. And I also, when I say something like that, I cringe a little bit inwardly, because the reality is this: obviously this is a transactional thing in addition to a non-transactional thing that people are doing. You have to also keep in mind, among the many things to keep in mind, is that you actually aren't you're not buying anything. Yes, you're buying the services, we're providing you the services, but a lot of people, especially when they get into a journey and they're hitting roadblocks and setbacks and obstacles, they start to create too much of a one-to-one ratio between what they feel is a disappointing outcome in the moment and the money they're paying for it. And it's tricky, because yes, you are investing a lot in this, but you have to remember that this is really about family formation. In some senses, it's not even about surrogacy per se. Surrogacy, of course, is at the heart of what we do. It's the instrument to fulfill the true goal, the true endpoint, which is forming a family. And I guess there are some people in the world who think they can buy their families. This is not our experience, and it's certainly not the feeling or the assumption we have about anyone who's doing a journey with us. So, okay. Oh, thank you. We have Gonzalo and Gonzalo, my husband and I are doing 2 journeys with Tammuz, and John and Sebastian. Be still my heart. It's fluttering. Thank you very much. We have people like Gonzalo, like Luis Miguel, who've had our own journeys. They've had ups and downs. It's not perfect, but thank you so much for that nice comment. Okay, I just want to move ahead so we don't lose time. Guarantee plans. We've talked about guarantee plans, what they offer. I'll tell you just a bit more. Again, can't urge you enough, for those who have not embarked yet, are interested in learning in depth and in detail about what we offer. I mean, there's only so much we can do in a webinar. By all means, please schedule a consultation with either Victor or me. If you have trouble finding a preferred time, let us know. We'll accommodate. The guarantee plan. What does the guarantee plan actually guarantee besides the besides the outcome, which is the baby and their babies? You get, for the guarantee plan, everything that's fundamentally integral to doing an IVF-based surrogacy journey successfully, unlimitedly for the cost of the plan. You get an unlimited number of eggs, fertilizations, embryo transfers, PGT, which is the assessing of any embryos we create in the course of a journey, to make sure that they're chromosomally normal before we use them for a pregnancy. You get as many matchings with surrogates and by extension compensations for the surrogates for the cost of the guarantee plan, and you get all the legal services that are required for you, first of all, to enter into a contract with a surrogate, number one, and number two, as many legal services as you need in order to obtain your parental rights wherever you're having a baby. How do you get a birth certificate? How do you petition a pre-birth order in the United States so that you're on the birth certificate even before your baby's born? All of those fundamentally integral components are included with the cost of the guarantee plan. And if in the course of having a baby or babies, you need to repeat any of these items in order to succeed, you don't pay more money on top of the cost of the plan for whatever the repeat or repeats could happen along the way. So when we say guarantee, we're not guaranteeing the process. No one has a crystal ball to tell you, on October 9th, 2025, if you sign an agreement today, your journey is going to look like this, and this is where this is going to happen, and this is where this. No one can do that. And if they're telling you that, they're not being honest. What it guarantees is the outcome, is the baby, and we have a pretty good estimated sense of how long it'll take. But getting from A to Z in that framework, everything that needs to happen is included with the cost of the guarantee plan unlimitedly. So that's truly unique. Someone asked earlier about the existing embryo plan. I believe I responded in the chat. So guarantee plan is not the only plan we offer. We want to accommodate as many different sets of intended parents as we can. They come to us with different histories, different experiences. Some of them come to us with embryos already ready to go. Great. So we do an existing embryo plan. The embryos are existing, and you bring them to us or you send them to the clinic at the destination that you're doing your plan, and we are then matching you with a surrogate and providing you the legal services in order to enter into contract with a surrogate, and then later on to obtain your parental rights. So we have that plan for those folks. And we also, the third major plan we do is a self-extraction plan. And statistically, fewer people are doing this given our clientele, but self-extraction plan is a surrogacy plan for parents in which the intended mother, whether it's a single intended mother or a mother as part of a couple, is going to use her own eggs for the fertilization. In other words, we're not working with an egg donor who's affiliated with our program. The mother is going to go to the clinic herself and do the IVF, and we're going to use the resulting embryos from the IVF with a surrogate. We need a surrogate still in this case for whatever reason, but self-extraction is specific to intended mothers who are looking to work with their own oocytes or their own eggs. Okay, where are we on time? It's 8:52. Okay.
So we are
Getting
40 minutes.
40 minutes. Okay. I'm going to run through our programs in a kind of broad way. And again, this is another way to say that to really, do a deep dive and learn more, including getting follow-up materials and writing, is to schedule a consultation. But we'll do greatest hits right now in terms of the destinations we offer. So surrogacy plans in the USA, surrogacy programs here. Arguably, if you're in the North American continent, this is the most straightforward, streamlined place to do an IVF-based surrogacy journey, at least in terms of obtaining parental rights. It's not to say that journeys in the USA can't be, can't get longer than you want, sometimes things happen that, make it difficult. There's setbacks. That's par for the course anywhere. But by and large, because the framework here is more streamlined, certainly in terms of the legal part, people tend to get through these journeys more quickly. So the average estimated amount of time it takes to get through a journey is about 18 to 20 months in the US, and that starts with the donation of the oocyte or the sperm, or both. In most cases, we're working with intended fathers. So, they go to the clinic in Los Angeles. We're partnering with the California Center for Reproductive Health in LA. That is our primary partner for the USA program. Once they go there and they donate sperm, the clock begins, as it were, for the estimated average, 18 to 20 months, meaning it can go longer, it can go a bit shorter, probably not much shorter. And the donors for the program, for the guarantee plan, certainly are part of the database that's affiliated with the California Center for Reproductive Health. They're all anonymous donors. You see their profiles. Some donors are willing to breach their anonymity. Some parents, are interested in maybe learning more about the donor than what's in her profile. We can always ask for more information about a donor, and we usually get it. There's more room, in a sense, to learn more, to know more about the players in the US than there would be in places like Mexico or Colombia, Armenia, Georgia. All of the medical processes for the guarantee plan certainly take place at the California Center for Reproductive Health. Sperm donation happens there. The egg donor will retrieve there. The fertilization is done there. And the embryo transfers happen there. The surrogate, wherever she lives in the US, will travel to Los Angeles for the transfer. And we work with surrogates all over the country. We're working, by the way, with surrogates who are living in parts of the country where the cost of living allows us to administer the guarantee plan at the price point that we are. So that means we're working with surrogates from places like Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Florida and Georgia and Indiana. We're not, by and large, working with surrogates who live in places like Midtown Manhattan or Cambridge, Massachusetts, or Massachusetts for that matter, or Vermont, where the cost of living is higher and where the compensation rate for surrogates is higher. I mean, in order to be able to administer the guarantee plan the way we do in the USA without any compromise to the fundamentally important parts of it, we are working in places where the compensation rates are lower for surrogates and where the cost of living is lower, which is not to say that we're working with surrogates who are not eminently qualified, not simply medically and psychologically, but also psychosocially. We can't work with women, we don't do this anywhere in the world, who are working, you know, on the poverty line, who are poor. We can't. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, leaving aside you know, resources. We have to work with women who are as equally altruistically motivated to do this as they are financially. But, you know, we have to, it's a very careful balance about where we are finding and matching people with surrogates. But no matter where they live, they go to LA for the transfer, and then they go back to wherever they're living, and that's where they gestate and they deliver in their home state. So when parents have a baby through surrogacy in the USA, the birth certificate will be of the state where the surrogate lives. And we're only working in states where surrogacy, gestational surrogacy, is legal, which is to say most states. Now, every state has different statutes, and this is starting to get granular. We could talk more about these in consultations. You know, depending on where parents match, they might have to do certain things in order to assure that they get a birth certificate. Every state in the US has kind of a patchwork situation in terms of statutes that govern anything involving assisted reproductive technologies. The core thing to understand is that you decide who you want to match with in the United States, and the surrogate decides who she wants to match with. And it's very important that the match between parents and surrogates is a good match interpersonally, because the surrogate in the US, unlike her counterparts in places like Mexico or Colombia or Armenia or Georgia, is going to be not only the genuine carrier of the baby, she's also administratively going to be important. She's the one, certainly by the time she reaches the end of the first trimester, who's your primary point of information. Your case manager, of course, is your primary point of information for everything involving the Tammuz plan, but specifically in the US, when it comes to getting updates about the pregnancy, like how did the appointment go this week? Where is the ultrasound imagery? Anything and everything relating to the actual pregnancy, by the time the parents are at the 12th week, excuse me, the surrogate is the one who's giving you that information. So when people are meeting potential candidates and matching with candidates early in the process, you know, and this is before the surrogate is even medically cleared, we need to know already that the parents and the surrogates feel strongly enough about their future in terms of communicating with each other before we even know for sure that she's going to do the match, do the pregnancy. And so the way it works here in the US is the surrogate, first we know there's a match, there's a contractual payment, and then the surrogate gets sent for all the rigorous intensive medical screenings, psychological evaluations, any additional assessments the California Center for Reproductive Health might want the surrogate to do before we know for sure that she can move ahead with signing a contract with the parents, legal services for which we provide you, and then once that contract is signed, scheduling the embryo transfer. Waiting time for surrogates here is about 1 to 3 months from the point of signing an agreement. Waiting time meaning the point at which we provide you profiles of women that we think would make a good match for you. And again, as I said, even after you decide to match with a surrogate, it's done, you know, you have a date, as we say on Zoom, where you meet candidates. You're not obligated to match, let alone meet anyone you don't want to meet. It's very much up to you and the surrogate in terms of that process. Okay. Mexico. Mexico, we've been in for 4 years now. We've gone through a number of evolutions in the country. We're in a very good place in Mexico. We've always been in a good place in Mexico. Mexico is a very good place to do surrogacy, legally, medically, regulatorily. We are now working with 2 wonderful clinics in Mexico City. Mexico City is where the program is based. When one does a guarantee plan in Mexico, one works with an egg donor affiliated with the egg donor database, affiliated with whichever clinic you're deciding to work with. And to this end, how do you decide which clinic you want to do your program in Mexico? First of all, you look at the egg donor databases, which is something you look at once you're getting interested in Mexico, and you decide which database presents you donors you are most interested in. And on that basis, you decide, I'm going to work with that clinic. So everything will happen at that clinic with that egg donor database for your plan in Mexico. The estimated average amount of time it takes to get through a journey in Mexico is on par these days actually with the US. It's about 18 to 20, maybe 18 to 22 months. Things are moving very quickly in Mexico. Surrogates are very available. People are being matched with surrogates within a few weeks after their embryos are created. One of the big differences between the program in Mexico versus the program in the USA is that In Mexico, we don't enter people into the surrogate matching queue until we have embryos that we can use to get pregnant with. Everything happens in Mexico, everything happens in Colombia in a sequential fashion. We cannot move to the next stage in the journey until the previous one is completed successfully. So the good news in Mexico is that you can begin sperm donation quickly, you can pick your egg donor quickly. We can, by all rights, get through an IVF more quickly than we can maybe in places like Colombia, because you can get started sooner in Mexico. What else can I say about Mexico that's important to say right now?
Who is eligible?
Yeah, oh yes, Mexico, it's a good, Victor said, yeah, so Mexico is open to everyone, singles, straights, gays, couples, trans folk. It's like the USA. There's no limitation as to the status of an intended parent who wants to do the plan in Mexico.
Does the surrogacy need to be medically needed for them to?
No, another good question. Thank you, Victor. All these prompts. You do not need any medical recommendation to embark upon an IVF-based surrogacy journey with us in Mexico. In programs like Armenia and Georgia, you do. The mothers, for that matter. We could talk about that in just a bit. Georgia and Armenia. I'm going to jump ahead to Georgia and Armenia. Again, it goes without saying, please schedule a consultation to learn more and in depth about Mexico, the USA. Georgia and Armenia, I will combine into a mini discussion here, partly because it's the same clinic in both countries that we're working with. We actually have been in Georgia now for 6 years, almost as long as we've been in Colombia. Our partner there, ever since we started, is the German-Georgian Reproductive Center, a wonderful clinic. And they are also now the clinic in Armenia. They actually went into Armenia about 1.5 years ago and from the ground up built a state-of-the-art IVF pre and postnatal maternity facility in Yerevan, which is the capital. So if one is doing a surrogacy program in Armenia, everything is truly in one place. Armenia is a program that is, if you are a single intended parent, whether you're male or female, you are eligible to do the program there. And if you are a married heterosexual couple, unfortunately, married or unmarried same-sex couples are not eligible to do the program in Armenia. In Georgia, the program is only for heterosexuals. We don't make up these rules, but every place has its framework. You don't have to be married. If you are unmarried and heterosexual in Georgia, you have to have been in a domestic partnership for at least 1 year before you are embarking. Georgians are very pedantic in terms of how they approve people to do the journeys there. I won't get into too much detail right now, but these are both very good places to do surrogacy. We offer the guarantee plans in these countries as well. The costs for the guarantee plans are considerably lower in places like Georgia and Armenia compared to the US. The egg donors in Georgia are Georgian egg donors. The donors in Armenia actually are Ukrainian donors. Speaking of a wild international ride, this also bespeaks Tammuz family's approach to doing surrogacy in as creative and I think interesting and innovative a manner. It's innovative. And we're always looking to create solution structures that accommodate as many different types of parents as possible while keeping the price points where they are and maintaining, the legal and regulatory framework. And this sometimes involves a creative structure. Georgia and Armenia are very creative in this way, where we work in these countries. First of all, that's where the clinics are located. In Georgia, the donors are from Georgia, but in either country, the surrogates are not from the countries. In Georgia, the surrogates, by and large, are not Georgian women. In Armenia, the surrogates are not Armenian women, at least for our clients. And the reason is this. In Georgia and Armenia, the law states that only essentially Georgian citizens can work with Georgian surrogates. And in Armenia, only Armenian citizens can work with Armenian surrogates. And we're not working with Armenian or Georgian clients by and large at all, actually. We're working with North Americans, which means if you do a program in Georgia and Armenia, your surrogate is going to be, as we say, a traveling surrogate. They will come from neighboring regions, neighboring countries, places like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. This is creative, like I was saying. And that means practically that when it comes time to do an embryo transfer, the surrogate will come from wherever they live to Georgia or Armenia for the embryo transfer. And barring anything exceptional, they'll go back to where they live and they'll spend the first 25 weeks back at home. And all of the medical monitoring for their pregnancy will be done by the German-Georgian Reproductive Center, whether in Georgia and Armenia, with the surrogate's own OBGYN, with her own local healthcare team. And then at the 25th week of the pregnancy, the surrogate will return to Georgia or Armenia and spend the remainder of the pregnancy in Georgia or Armenia and deliver, of course, in Georgia and Armenia, because we need to avail ourselves of the legal and regulatory framework. So this is a very interesting proposition for people. Some people hear this and think that sounds crazy. It's not crazy because we're not doing anything crazy. We're only working, obviously, with a top-notch clinic, and the medical monitoring is very sound. But this ties into, I think, in a broader sense, what are people's goals and interests for doing a surrogacy in the first place? If, for example, one of your goals, one of your hopes for embarking upon a surrogacy journey is to be in contact with a surrogate, well, that's certainly very much on the table in the US. It's required. That's still very much in place in Colombia. We want parents and surrogates to be in touch with surrogates. In places like Mexico, and certainly in places like Georgia and Armenia, the relationship, as you might already appreciate, is going to be much more removed. Some people prefer that. They want to go into this for any number of reasons, and they really don't want to have any responsibility or limited responsibility in terms of maintaining an interpersonal connection with the surrogate. In those cases, leaving questions of money aside, if that's really important, then I would say looking to Mexico, looking to Georgia, Armenia are places that might be more suitable to fulfill that goal. If, however, on the other side of the coin, you are someone who really wants to be in regular contact with a surrogate for any number of reasons, then Georgia and Armenia might not be the best fit for you, at least on that level. And this is not to say that it's a worse or better program. None of these programs are worse or better than the other. A lot of people, when we consult, will ask, well, give me the pros and cons. I mean, that's a very subjective thing to sort of describe. We, as I said, are not administering programs that we don't stand and live by every second of the day and must. It's just that they have their own particularities and it's complex. And no one has a crystal ball to say how things are going to go this way or that way, but there are frameworks that might be more suitable for others than not. Anyway.
What is the length of both of these programs on average compared to?
Yeah, so they're a little longer in Georgia. Well, Armenia is actually on a par now with Mexico and the USA. USA, Mexico, and Armenia are quote unquote faster, anticipated to be our faster journeys. On average, as we say, from the point of sperm donation to having a baby in your arms or babies, anywhere from about 18 to 20, 22 months. And when I say that's the estimated average amount of time, I'm not counting again the time leading up to sperm donation, and I'm not counting the time after delivery where you are staying in the country before you go back home. So this is a big difference between doing a program in the US versus doing a program outside the US. In the US, you have a baby wherever the baby's being born, Oklahoma, California, Florida. You go there for the delivery, knock on wood, it's a smooth, uncomplicated delivery. You're in the hospital for 24 to 48 hours and you go home. You get the birth certificate in short order and end of story, so to speak. If you go to Mexico, even if you're having a baby at month 20, you still have to count on being in Mexico City probably up to another 6 to 8 weeks before you're going to go home. If you have a baby in Armenia or Georgia, you're going to be in those countries anywhere from 4 to 5 weeks before you go home. If you have a baby in Colombia, anywhere from maybe 4 to 5 weeks before you go home. So that time, which is part of the exit process, which we have no control over because it ties into getting the birth certificate, ties into getting passports, ties into mechanisms, entities, bureaucracies that are part of the country. There's no way around that. That is the time people have to expect to be there. And it's okay. I mean, this is something that people know from the start. It's not a surprise. That said, the world is interesting these days. Sometimes there are changes in regulatory frameworks, in legal outcomes. Sometimes we have to pivot. Sometimes parents have to be nimbler than they ever thought they have to be. This goes back to what we were discussing earlier. Anyone having a baby, let alone through surrogacy, has to have a kind of a looseness, a loose-limbed quality, as we say, to be able to roll with the punches as they might come, especially if they're coming from situations or origins that have actually nothing to do with surrogacy per se. It has to do with where you're doing it. And we will never and have never administered a program where the conditions are not, in the essential sense, in the most important sense, favoring the parents, the babies, and the surrogates. If anything were to change so fundamentally in a way to compromise the sanctity and the integrity of the parents and the babies of the surrogates' experiences, we will change course. We will move people to another destination if we have to. And that's also another reason, going back to why work with Tammuz, because we're adept at dealing with change, especially on the international front. It's you don't want to be tested in these situations. We are being tested right now in Argentina, which I'm not going to go into, but Argentina was a good place to do, still a good place to do IVF. It's not a good place to match people with surrogates. We have a lot of experience dealing with having to move people, for example, if we need to. It doesn't happen very often, but if you're going to do an international surrogacy, I would want to do it with a company that that's been around the block, which we certainly have. No one wants to be tested, but I think in order to really put your money where your mouth is, you have to be tested, and we have been, along with all the support and understanding and personal experience that we bring to the table. You are in good hands. Okay, moving on. I think we need to move on to Colombia. Colombia. Colombia is a robust program. We've been there for 6 years. It's probably the longest estimated average amount of time right now. It's more like, people are in Colombia from sperm donation to having a baby, shortest amount of time, 2.5 years, closer to 3 years these days. It's because we have the most set of parents there, the most set of egg donors, the most set of surrogates. Everyone, it's very complex, waiting for egg donors, waiting for surrogate matchings. Clinically, we are based at the Selachem Clinic in Bogota, which has been our partner from the start. They're an excellent clinic. We are right now in the process, this is really auspicious, of expanding our options in Colombia, especially for people who are starting anew with us. And so the timelines, which are fluctuating across the board in all of our programs, depending on supply and demand, how many parents, how many surrogates, how many egg donors, we are now trying to create a valve, and not just a valve, but more options in Colombia, so that we can, by all rights, shorten the estimated average amount of time it's taking to get through Colombia, because it is by most measures the longest program. It's also the least expensive of the programs that we offer in the Americas. So for North Americans, leaving aside the question of time, it's very attractive, not simply on the medical level, but because of the cost. When you compare the net estimate in the US of a guarantee plan, which can run anywhere from 170,000 on the low end to maybe upwards of 185,000 on the high end, you're doing a guarantee plan for quite literally half that cost in Colombia, which is not to say that it's at the expense of anything that's really important in Colombia, medically, legally, but that is a big deciding factor for a lot of parents, and they're willing to take on the other parts of the program that maybe aren't as ideal in terms of time, but time is something people have to be very nimble with in their minds and their hearts, because even in the US, things can take a long time. I certainly know that from my own pregnancies. We had adventures we didn't expect here. So anyway, Colombia, Colombian egg donors. The donors, as I said, represent the ethnographic, the demographic, the ethnography of the country that we're in. So we have Colombian donors on one end of the spectrum. Their phenotypes are akin to those of women with Northern European genotypes. On the other end of the spectrum, we have women who present as Afro-Colombian. So for people looking, for example, for egg donors of color, and they're not working in the US, the US has a wide spread of ethnicities. Colombia might be a good option. I think we need to stop there with Colombia and move on to Luis and Miguel at this point. And again, I can't urge you enough to schedule consultations where we can really, dive deep, both Victor and I, into talking more about these programs individually. Where are we? Sorry for being a little lost.
No, it's all good.
We're good.
Yeah, they're next.
Okay.
I'm trying to get to the correct slide.
Here we are. Okay.
And I have already talked to Luis. I think he's waiting on the line to speak.
Oh, great. So you figured, okay. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Hi.
Oh, there they are. Woo!
Oh, I don't know why it's moving.
Yeah.
Hello, can you see us? Can you hear us?
Can you unmute, guys? Let's see.
We're unmuted. Can you hear us?
We need to.
Oh, wait, bear with us. We'll figure this out. Ha ha ha. Do I need to unmute myself, or do I need to mute myself?
What about now? Hello?
How about now? Can you guys talk? Can you try talking? See if you. Oh, they can't hear me.
No,
We
we
can
can,
hear
hear
you.
you.
They can hear us.
Oh, they can hear us?
Yes.
We can't hear them. You can hear us? You can hear us.
Yes.
You guys have to click to where it says join audio on
Oh, yeah, join audio on your.
the bottom right.
On the
On the
right.
bottom left, sorry, it says join audio, and so you will click it. Join
Yeah.
audio.
Do I have to mute myself? Oh, I hear them.
Hello, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Hi,
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No, it's great. This is wonderful. Good to see you guys.
You too.
Thank you for joining. Again, just as a way of introduction, Luis and Miguel are a couple living in California, and they had a beautiful baby boy through surrogacy in Colombia 3 years ago, right? He just turned, no, sorry,
No, no, no. He a year and a half ago.
year and a half ago.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking year and a half ago, and I won't talk more. I don't want to assume anything about what we should talk about, but um, I just wanted just to hear a little more about, or to share with the good folks at home a little more about your experience. Maybe the way to start is just to ask you, how and why did you decide to pursue surrogacy in the first place? And why did you, when you were making that decision, decide to go with us?
Yeah, so we started our the discussion in 2020. Um, Kind of like right as COVID was happening, I think, like a couple months into it, obviously not knowing it was gonna last so long. And we had a lot of downtime, and obviously we were hanging out a lot with our family. And I think that kind of inspired the idea of maybe starting our own family. And, I want my parents to be grandparents, and we bought a house, we have our dogs, we have really great jobs. It just felt like the next step for us. We wanted to share our life and all of we like to go out a lot, all our fun adventures with another human being. So, we thought it was time for us just to kind of start looking into possibly having a family. And it just kind of just happened one day. It was just a conversation we had one morning, and then we started to take it really seriously. So we started to kind of research on different places that could help us, and we looked at places in the U.S. and I don't know. It's just we kind of go with our gut feeling. So when we saw Tamus as an option, and we met with John in 2020, so it's been a while now. It felt right. So we just kind of followed our gut, and we went with Tamus, and it did take a while, but part of it was us kind of they were patient with us with some of the stuff that came up with us. And again, we were not in a rush to have a baby, so we were okay with it taking a little longer. And I just think everything happened the way it needed to happen timeline wise. So
Yeah. That was a lucky thing to not be in a rush, because no one should be or can be in a rush when it comes to this.
yeah.
You guys are, you came already with a kind of quotient that's useful, but at the same time, you don't want this to go forever. But I think, coming to this with patience and is very important. You encountered, I'm sure, I can't remember point for point, ups and downs, obviously. It's been a while.
Yeah. So
Uh,
we
you want to talk a little more about how you managed some of that stuff? Like what were the examples of the things that didn't go your way exactly when you wanted them to go your way, and things that defied your expectations, either positively or negatively, and how did you get through it is basically what I'm asking.
we had 4 embryos originally.
Yeah.
Um and we matched with a surrogate, and she was great. We got along with her. And the first time she had like an embryo transfer, it didn't stick, and
Yep.
we knew that was a possibility. I think we were just mentally prepared that anything could happen. And then the second time, there wasn't a heartbeat, so she, lost the baby, and then she decided she no longer wanted to continue with us, or I think she had been through a lot,
Yeah.
so she kind of stopped, and then it took a toll on us a little bit as well. So we did kind of put a little bit of a pause, and then when we were ready to pick back up, John was ready to like help us find another surrogate, and then we met Carmen, which she uh, just clicked with us, and we got along with her. And our first matchmaking meeting just went really well, and we moved forward with her. And thank God, on the first embryo transfer, everything went smooth, and then we had a really great relationship with her. And yeah, now we're here.
All right. Yeah, it's hard until it's not, then it's easy, and then even when it's easy, the stakes are different. I mean, generally speaking, once someone is pregnant and at least past the first trimester, there is a kind of, arguably a loosening of the collar, like, oh, now I can breathe because that was like a hell of a journey just to get to that point. But even when, the stakes are different when you're pregnant, you can still, things can, get complicated later in a pregnancy, and it's not an easy journey for anyone, no matter how relaxed certain parts of it might be in relation to others. But what you've described, I think, is not uncommon. Not simply in terms of what happens early in a journey, in terms of embryos not leading to successful transfers, or not leading to any embryos to begin with, or you have a surrogate that wants to pull out for any number of reasons. The surrogates and the egg donors, they're free agents. This isn't The Handmaid's Tale. No one has control. I mean, this is a very human operation, as we say. So what you've described here, I think, is quite poignant and important to remark upon. What was your, what's that? Yeah. No, I want to say it's like all negative. It's not all, it's not, it's a mixed bag. I also want to say that, when you talk about these experiences, when I talk about them, when I hope I'm not presuming too much, is that when you look back at everything that might have not been so great, I mean, you don't sit here spending your days dwelling on it, I hope. I mean, you have a baby, which is what all this is about, but that even when things are tough, they're always counterbalanced at some point by something that's amazing in surrogacy. And it's another way of sort of saying that surrogacy is very joyful. I mean, and joy is a mixed emotion. Joy is not all happiness. It's not all despair. It's a very rich kind of feeling, a rich experience.
Right.
Um, I wanted
We're also just strong believers that things are meant to happen when they're meant to happen. And
Yeah, before we even started, it was just like a big conversation of like, these are all the possibilities. We need to be mentally prepared of these things, not going our way. But
Yeah.
as long as we have each other to just kind of like support on each other, then we'll be good. And once we get into the next step, then all right, we're one step closer. And it made
Yeah.
each next step all much better. Honestly, I think it just comes down to having that conversation with your partner of just like, this is where we are. Let's mentally prepare for the next step and know that there's potentially gonna be challenges.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can keep moving forward. And yeah, that after we met Carmen, fortunately from that point on, for the most part, everything was smooth
and rewarding. Everything was great.
How is that experience, the joy, let's say, translated into your life as parents? I mean, now you have a young child, but how has surrogacy prepared you for parenthood? Or maybe it hasn't. I don't know. Maybe it's completely different. But can you talk a little bit about the translation, as it were, from expecting to having, and now raising and rearing and dealing with that adventure?
I mean, I don't really think that you can ever be prepared to parent. Like, you can read all the books, you can have all the people talk to you and be like, oh, this is gonna happen. And you can try to plan, but it's just an experience that you never had before. So like once our baby arrived, it was just like, oh gosh, like we gotta take care of this child now.
I know.
And every day is just like a learning experience. I mean, right now, even as he's getting older, it's a learning experience because once you get used to like, okay, we know how to handle like an infant. Oh, now he's like crawling. We need to like keep an eye on him. Oh, now he's walking. Now we got So it's just like constantly learning and new challenges. But very like how you were talking about, like it's also very rewarding. Like there's like some downs where like we're struggling. Like how do we do this? But then it's just like like his first words or things like this. It's just all these rewarding, awesome mixed bag of emotions where it could be scary and because you're worrying as a parent, or it could be hard, you could be stressed, but at the same time, it's just like a very rewarding, happy, awesome feeling to just have this, this little human being with you.
Yeah.
And then you kind of forget about all the struggles you had beforehand. Like it's not till now that we're bringing it back up. I'm like, oh yeah, like all these things happen, but it's just you kind of live in the moment now, and you're just enjoying.
Yeah.
A human being.
I think it's most parents, even parents who go through really challenging, even difficult journeys. Once they have a baby, it's very rare that I think biologically we're built to sort of not remember hard stuff, the hard stuff it took to get the good stuff. I mean, that's sort of a life thing anyway. Usually when you fulfill a very intense dream, most intense dreams don't come without challenges, honestly. And when you arrive at that place, something had happened psychically, at least in my experience. I mean, I've got 2 kids now, and we've had some intense moments along the way. Um, but I think, I don't know for you guys, but when you say being patient, sometimes you get stressed out. I find like surrogacy prepared me in ways that I think if I were doing it the old-fashioned way, if I just, got someone pregnant and 9 months later and didn't know anything about the partner, didn't, you know a lot, even though sometimes you don't always know, don't always, like the news you're getting into surrogacy. But going through that, I think helped me certainly feel more resilient as a parent, actually, which is really what this is all about. Um, every parent is different, every parent-child situation is different, but that is really where this is leading towards. Anyway,
Any one part of your journey that sticks out as like, oh, that moment was amazing?
yeah.
Well, the birth, like that first moment was like the most amazing. I don't think anything will top that.
How did that go for you guys? Were you guys in the room? Had you already built a rapport with the
So
care-
we had our story is kind of funny. It almost felt like a movie scene because um it all happened so fast. And I was hearing stories from other friends or that they go into the hospital and everything. They could be in labor for hours and hours and spend a couple days there. Ours just she called me the morning he was born and told me that she was having some cramps and she was gonna go to the hospital, which is the Clínica de la Mujer in Colombia, and to meet us there in like 2 hours or something. And so we went, and she went into urgent care. They checked her and they're like, "Oh no, we're gonna admit you now," because she was kind of worried that they might send her back and be like, "No, you're not ready." But no, they wheeled her up to a room, and then like after an hour, they let us up to go visit her, and um, she was having contractions, and I obviously we don't know how any of that works. My mom was with us luckily, and she was, I guess, like measuring or counting her breath or something. And then she's like, no, she's gonna have this baby soon, like within like, the next couple of hours. But the nurses and the doctor was just like, like I think they were trying to like slow the process down a little bit. Or I don't know, but we thought we had time. So we went out to get lunch, and as soon as like our food starts getting to the table, our surrogate's husband calls us, and she's like, "Hey, she's just going into labor right now." So I run out the restaurant, and then if you ever been to like the tropical state or country, the rainfall over there is just really heavy. It was raining. I got lost running in the rain because I couldn't check my phone because all the water drops were falling on it. So
My
I,
God.
I was like, oh, like our baby's coming, and I'm like lost in Colombia, trying to run to the clinic, and then I made it in. It's like I don't even remember how I got there, but I got there, and I was like drying myself with paper towels, and then they took me back up to the room, and I had to get his bag ready because I didn't even have like we had our backpack with everything we were going to need, but we didn't know that we needed to have like his first outfit and blanket like separate from all that stuff. So they had it. So then we're
Yeah.
like, I'm digging through the bag with our surrogate's husband, trying to find something, and the nurse comes, grabs it. And then Miguel was sad because he thought like
I thought he was born. I was
no,
like,
he
I
was born, but he thought like I witnessed the birth and or like I was there
Oh,
or that I held him first. Miguel thought I held him first and that he was missing all of that because he said he had to stay back at the restaurant
To
and pack the
pay.
food and pay.
oh God. Oh no.
So once Miguel got there, like no, I haven't met him yet. Like she literally just gave birth. They're still like changing him.
Wow.
And then they took us to like the double doors of the emergency room. And then yeah, it was like 30 minutes, I think, after he was actually born, they brought him out in his like blue little blanket, and then I held him, he held him, and then my mom held him, and we had that really special moment. And, yeah,
Yeah.
She was so tiny.
I think that's an amazing story about like I hope you took note. I mean, it sounds like you did, but like, the raindrops on the phone and like someone's back at
it
the
was
restaurant
intense.
saying, and did you hold him first and all that. I mean, it's an emotional thing, and you think I can imagine maybe like, oh my God, it only took us 4 years to get to this point, and we were eating lunch. Like, what was up with, why weren't we, I mean, maybe I'm
Yeah,
figuring out that was sort of my experience with my daughter's delivery, which was premature, and I had planned in my mind to be there in the way that we were for my son's delivery, and we weren't. And there's a lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas, no matter how much
Yeah.
you might have, and there's no preparing. In other words, you don't know. And the thing is, you have to be kind to yourself, obviously, which goes without saying. And here you have a baby, and thankfully it was smooth and uncomplicated. And
Was it,
Yeah, we got really lucky.
yeah.
you guys find that Colombia was dangerous or?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how did you find that compared to how you would do that process here in the United States? Like, were you
Sorry, what was the
comfortable
question?
to hold your hand from Tammuz through the process?
Oh, yeah,
How did
yeah.
that go?
Your support on the ground in Colombia. Yeah, we're probably, yeah, we're reaching the end. Yeah, if you don't mind speaking a little more about your experiences in Colombia, even with the team, the clinic.
Yeah, so it's really funny how everything is so organized. I didn't know how organized it was going to be. I thought we were just gonna get there, but as soon as like we landed, they knew because we had texted like our flight information. I didn't think they were gonna like hit us up or anything, but they as soon as we got to our hotel, like they kind of set up with like an itinerary and checked in and created a group chat with everyone who was going to be involved from like the lawyers and other representatives and everything. And you know, they're professionals. They've done this before. It's like obviously it's new to us, so we didn't know what was happening. But they just had like a whole game plan for us from like the moment we got there to literally as we left Colombia. So I think I was really worried, like, I think my biggest worry in the beginning was, we're going to Colombia without a baby and we're coming home with a baby. Like, what does that mean for like, going through immigration and coming all that? But the team over there, they just knew how to manage every step of the way up until we got to like immigration and coming back, and they had all our paperwork prepared. Like they sent us with a stack of papers, everything had like the puzzles and noted and signatures and everything. And like the people, the immigration and TSA, whatever in Colombia, like I guess they just know already. So they already knew what to look for and everything, and they let us through. Everything was fine. Like we were very well taken care of from like the moment we got there to literally the day that we left.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not straightforward. There are a lot of things you have to do. You have a lot of steps to the exit process. It's very important that folks feel supported, and they are in Colombia. We have our dedicated staff. But no two exit processes are going to be exactly alike. I mean, it's particular to you. I know some people, when they're thinking about Colombia or even anywhere outside the US, they're concerned. Is it dangerous? Is it safe? How straightforward is it? Does it feel like Midnight Express? Any number of, worst case scenarios. I mean, there's never a point that our parents don't have support wherever they are. I mean, once they're on the ground, it's the local team that's really their daily support. We're also here to support them, but it sounds like your experience was quite positive in that way.
Yeah, we had a lot of support. We felt really safe.
Yeah.
Especially the areas that the clinic is at and all that. They're in really nice areas.
Yeah.
Like it was nicer than where we live. Like so like we would walk down the street and they have a mall with like Louis Vuitton and all like that fine.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a very high-end area of
Yeah.
Colombia, of Bogota. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a question a lot of parents, prospective parents ask us, like, is Mexico safe? I hear it's just overrun with crime in Mexico City and Bogota. And I'm saying, listen, every city has a place I wouldn't walk at night. That doesn't mean these places are particularly more dangerous than, Minneapolis in certain parts or, Tulsa, Oklahoma, or even Midtown Manhattan. I mean, it's a big city, but they're sophisticated places. And obviously the healthcare and the infrastructure are very strong. And
They're asking here.
Oh, yeah.
How's the baby on the flight?
Oh, yeah.
Do you need to prepare anything for that?
We got really, really lucky because our child was a super calm baby. He's still a very calm toddler. He slept through the entire flight. We had to do two because we had a layover. Both flights, knocked out, sleeping like sleeping like a baby. He didn't even. I think he cried maybe for like 10 minutes just for a bottle, and I was like, of like the entire, how long was it, like 14 hours?
Yeah, we had like a 14-hour travel day because we had to fly from Colombia to Atlanta. Then we had
Yeah.
a layover there, then Atlanta to LA.
Yeah.
And he was chill the entire.
But how long did you
I mean, we
stay?
did try to prepare and like we read like, oh, like pacifiers can help or like earmuffs for the baby or things like that. But fortunately, yeah, we did not start. We just got lucky. I know that every baby's gonna be different, so like every baby's gonna fly differently. But our experience was very, very nice.
I would
Yeah.
also recommend if you can just pay a little extra for better seats up closer than
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, bulkhead seats that's true. If you can with more leg room or,
yeah.
Mhm.
Because
That
that,
helped
that
too.
helped.
you know. Yeah, especially if you're connecting somewhere. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the journey, that if you're going to be bringing a baby home from outside the USA, it's the longer flight, but babies travel very easily. Toddlers are a different story. Then I can talk more about but babies by and large they're portable. They don't do much other than sleep and poop and occasionally cry, but anyway, I think we have to wrap things up. We were reaching a little past the point of when we, I don't know if there are any additional questions that the participants might have.
We answered them as they came up.
We did. Okay, great. And I don't know if there's any last things that Luis and Miguel you might want to, do you feel like you want to share, or if there's any
Advice for parents.
advice?
to their
Yeah.
Surrogacy journey.
Enjoy it.
Communicate. I mean,
Communicate.
ask all the questions that you have. The team really is like there to help you and answer all your questions. And they're, they let it be known, like, if anything comes up, if you're worrying about anything, when question about anything, like let us know. So definitely take advantage of that. It's better to just ask and know than kind of sitting on it and just wondering. Yeah, honestly, communication and just enjoy the journey from there on.
Great.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
We appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you so much. And really, it's lovely.
Touch.
For sure.
And yeah, and for everybody else, thank you for logging in today. Signing up, and as we said, if you want to learn more about what your specific journey will look like, please schedule a consultation with us, and we will be more than happy to accommodate you guys based on your schedule. Thank you very much and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye-bye.